Yeah, let's do that. I think because then we can have the power word kill for the Elesh Norn later on as well. So we're going to... That's a lot of triggers. So if you hadn't guessed by now, I'm going through all the Dominuses, or is it Domini? I don't know what the plural is, but this is Drivnod Carnage Dominus, 5-mana 8/3, which is a pretty weird stats, but incredibly powerful. This is pretty much a 3 hits and almost kill kind of deal. It's a lot like Taste of Karlov, so it doubles death triggers. Very simple, very effective. This is a very coveted card from the newest set. Probably got one of the strongest activate abilities out of all the Dominuses because it doesn't cost any mana at all if you don't want to. You can just pay 4 life to give it indestructible. You do have to exile 3 cards in your graveyard to do that though, so it's one of the trickier ones to do. But it's nicely balanced. The deck is essentially, it's almost a Taste of Karlov shell pretty much, considering a lot of the aristocrat style stuff in that was black anyway. You can essentially port that deck over and take the white cards out, which is something which is really good for editing, by the way. You can copy decks and edit them and amend them to how you think the deck's going to work well. So yeah, it's got all the favourite stuff which has death triggers built in. So we've got stuff, effects like Playcraft are great because they'll come in, they'll die themselves, but they'll also get rid of one of your creature's opponents. And it's good to trigger stuff like Meat Hook Massacre, which means they lose an extra life. You've got Bastion of Remembrance, they lose another life, we gain a life. You know, Fleshbag Marauder and Gravelighter are more of these effects. Massacre Worm's incredible because when a creature dies, if you have Drivnod out too, then they'll lose 4 life for each trigger. There is actually a brand new demon in the set, which is a 4-mana 6/6, which has the same ability as Massacre Worm. Whenever a creature dies, they lose 2. So you could craft that. I just didn't have enough wild cards. As you can see, I'm a bit short on wild cards. Rare and mythic equals 0. Sad times. Don't forget you can donate below in Ko-fi. That would help me get more wild cards. But yeah, so I'm just making a do with essentially a tried and trusted formula that you've probably seen in similar videos before. Another really good one I'd say is Erebos, because whenever something dies, you can pay 2 to draw a card, and that can be steep, but it can literally save your life. A new addition that I thought would be cool is Body Launderer. Whenever another non-token creature you control dies, you get to connive, and then when this guy dies, you can resurrect a creature as long as it's a non-rogue with less power. It's pretty cool. It's a mythic for a reason. It doesn't seem that good, but it just is. I'll say, in order to bolster the deck, because it's quite an expensive commander being 5, you want to have some cheap stuff as well, like Carithor. So when this dies, you get a treasure. Same thing with the Gleaming Barrier as well. When this dies, you get a treasure. And that's just, you know, it all stacks up. Every little counts. And obviously with Drivnod out, it doubles the triggers. If you're curious to see what's, you know, the whole list, you can see it here, or you can check out the deck list in the description below, where you can copy the deck and have a go yourself. Tell me what you think. What other spicy new cards do you think would fit in this shell? I've playtested this quite a bit. It was very fun. So yeah, let's get into the games. Okay, so we're facing the new Atraxa, which is pretty much Niv Mizzet on steroids. Not even steroids, just pretty much identical. So she comes in, looks at the top 10 cards, and for each card type, you put a card of that type into your hand. So she can draw you, well, up to 10 cards, but how many types are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's currently 8 types in Magic. So until they add 2 more types, we shall see. They've just added Battle, so that's an additional type. Oh, is it a horrible... is it a Demise build? I wouldn't like that. I don't like that. Circuit Mender's a bit of a strange one. Is it a Flicker build then? Oh, it's a Flicker build, isn't it? That means this is... Yeah, I don't know what that means, actually. Oh, I don't like Smothering Tide, especially with our own Phyrexian Arena. This is not going to be good for us. Okay, let's try to get Drivnod out here. Wash away? No? Okay. Yeah, this Smothering Tide is going to be the end of us, because if they get to 7 mana, they're going to refill their entire hand. Oh, this is probably one of the best cards they could have actually gotten against us, but... Oh well, yeah, it's the same problem that Niv has. Like, if you get this out, you pretty much win the game, so it's a bit difficult to play around it, because you spend the entire game using your resources, so your resources are both going down one by one. But cards like this basically nullify anything you did before. It's a lot like the Ugin problem, the 8-mana Ugin problem, where it came down and just wiped out the field, which is basically farewell for 6 mana rather than 8 now. So just going to decline, I think. What should we do then? As if they've got 2 blockers as well. Oh well, let's go for Massacre Worm. Let's try and be as impactful as possible here. So if they block, they lose stuff, and if they don't block, they lose life. It's not a great scenario for them, but... So as I suspected, it is a flicker build. It comes back instantly and dies though, so... I think I would have saved that for the Atraxa. I don't feel like... I mean, how much mana do they need exactly, you know? But that's up to them, of course. They probably have a Ruinous Ultimatum. No, they don't have red, do they? So they don't have Ruinous Ultimatum. Oh yeah, double the triggers, so they lose 4 life for each thing that dies here. But, again, they could just have a really powerful lance here, being all but red. Okay. Fingers crossed it's not good. Kaya. 1, 2, 3, 4 mana. So if they play a land, they can go for Kaya. The flavour for Atraxa is cool. I'm a bit confused in lore, because in the lore, I thought it was Elesh Norn that kind of united everything, but looks like Atraxa is unifying these weird Phyrexian people, but yeah, not really sure. Soul Herder, so they're going to flicker the Atraxa, but they've already got 7 cards, so isn't this just like overkill? So I think we just win the game, don't we? Because we have 3 kill spells in hand, and they only have 1. What have they got? So they got Cloud Shift. Cloud Shift comes back in instantly, so they'll have to lose something from one of our sack effects. Let's have a look. Yeah, I think they could just straight up be dead here. Let's see what they do. Decline to play this. It's important. Right, stage 1. Flashback Marauder. So once again, it gets around any flickering. So let's see what they do. They think they're going to have the Atraxa, but they might be wrong there. They lose a lot of life just from that one. They do have lifelink here, so maybe they have a way to protect it. Okay, and another plague. This is literally the perfect answer, because if this was a targeted removal spell, it would mean that they would negate the kill spell by flickering it. But because it's a sack effect that must be taken into consideration, it means that even if you flicker the Atraxa, it has to come back and die. So there is, I do not think there's a way out of this, to be perfectly honest. That ain't going to help. Unless they get something like a 1 mana exile. I mean, even if they got the Swords to Plowshares, would that help? I don't think so. Unless they Swords to Plowshare their own, or Heroic Intervention. They don't have the mana to do that, though. Oh no, that won't even help. Yeah, they're just dead. They're just straight up dead. Crazy synergy here between the Massacre Worm and the Drivnod. Amazing. We beat a player that drew like, what was it, 20 to 30 cards? Up. Well, they could have drawn that, well, 24, let's say. Crazy. Here we go first against Elesh Norn. So let's see how... This is a pretty cool matchup. Mono white versus mono black. We get to go first. She stops our ATBs, but we don't really have that many in hat. We've got 1, so it's not too bad. Thraben Inspect. Okay, so they're going for the low end, more aggressive style. I mean, we already have the kill spell for Elesh Norn anyway, so I'm not too bothered about her. She is a Phyrexian Praetor. This kills those. Take the 1. No issue. So if you're facing Elesh Norn, try and get out as many ETBs as you can before she comes out. Go for the Midnight Reaper first, actually. We've still got an extra turn or so before she comes down. The reason for this is because this can actually block the Inspector if we have to, whereas this makes a 1-1, which is less useful when trying to block a 1-2. So that was the logic. Although, as I said, getting this out early does have its merits because it means that you'll actually get the token. Versus Elesh Norn. Elesh Norn. Okay, Playcraft is pretty good, but we want to... Yeah, so this is where we want to go for the Bastion, because we get the 1-1, we can then sack that to the Playcrafter later on. And now we could even think about attacking, because unless they have a way to kill a tap creature, it could be fairly safe. They could flash something in here, that's not impossible. Bellador retreat. That's pretty good, because that would have double ETBs. Well, kind of got the answer with the extinction event, though. So yeah, Playcrafter seems decent here. So, non-token. So I'd like to draw a land. So let's just go for the Playcrafter itself. We do lose a bit of momentum there, but we get 4 triggers. And drawing into a land is going to be useful because we're fighting a very powerful deck. Okay, it's still good though because we've got 2 kill spells for the Elesh Norn. So if they resolve Elesh Norn, it's not the end of the world. So they're going to get a 2/2 cat. And Elesh Norn comes down to play. Okie dokie. So we probably want to optimize our mana here with the Hero's Downfall. That will finish her off. There you go, Elesh Norn finished. Put her in her place. And yeah, pass a turn. So I don't really want to swing in with the Midnight Reaper because if they build enough cats, we could just get rid of all the evens with the extinction event. They're going to go for another cat, okay. I mean, we will lose the Blood Artist and the Human Soldier, but we shall see what they do. So our problem now isn't Elesh Norn, it's actually we don't have the mana. Master Splice. Okay, so they're going to spam the field. Jeez, okay. Fine, we'll go for the Dreadhorde Invasion. Just something to... It's something to do whilst we don't have anything else. Pass a turn. And it's a decent blocker, you know. You can block every turn when it dies. Or drain them for 2. Swords to Plowshares. That's a real shame. That is a real shame. Daxos. They are really making this easy for us because everything they have is even, so we can... Oh, Eldrazi Displacer. This needs to go, that's the only issue. So, let's just block the 4 here. Drain them for 1. I think I need a land. Very desperately. Okay, there we go. And we are going to... What's scarier? This is scary, but this is going to take the whole turn to do it. We're going to use Extinction Event eventually, aren't we? Oh, what do I do here? The Blood Artist is so good. Okay, we'll go for another Blood Artist effect, essentially. We'll see what happens here. I'm not too worried about them getting more golems because we can just exile the field, as we said. If they play land and pump the team, that is also very scary. But now they get life whenever creatures come in. So if they flicker the Master Splicer, they will gain 2 life. So they are going to literally spend their entire turn doing that, which is kind of interesting because it's a very good reactive spell. And also the only way they can do this is with the Demolition Field as well. So if we had a way to destroy this, they couldn't actually use the Displacer. They're swinging in with those as well. Okay, they're deciding to not now. So this attack is significantly worsened. Worsened? Is that a word? I think so. But that attack actually ended up worse for them because we drained them for 2. So if at any point they get rid of these both, it's actually not the end of the world because we could just eradicate their entire field. So essentially we're just waiting. We're just waiting for the right moment here. Go for the Treasure Keeper. So we've all got evens. Keep that in mind. Because if they do actually go for Elesh Norn next turn, I will definitely crack the Extinction Event to get rid of the Displacer and the Elesh Norn. I think that's a fantastic hit there. So they care more about flickering the Master Splice than anything else, which again, I'm just really not that scared of yet. So I'm actually more scared of this land, in fact. Okay, so now the team looks pretty scary. Okay, fantastic. So this is exactly what we wanted to see. Okay. So again, we're getting some good triggers here when our stuff dies. I'm not even that worried. Okay, so maybe it would be better to actually just block everything and then we can extinction event their entire army. Would that be better? Just trying to think, how much drain would that be? I think this is actually... Yeah, let's do that. I think because then we can have the power word kill for the Elesh Norn later on as well. So we're going to... That's a lot of triggers. Shame we didn't have the Drivnod, it would have doubled every single one. Wowzers. Gravelighter even comes in to give us some more triggers as well. That's crazy. Oh, but it stopped. The triggers stopped. Okay, fair enough. They're down to 5. Okay, so... Odds. So yeah, let's get rid of all their evens here. I mean, that's a pretty good hit if you ask me. And now we have a fly going over the top. Down to 3. This is actually pretty much lethal. I mean, next turn we could literally just attack in and then kill it. And they die. So they have to get rid of the Bastion of Remembrance here. So they get 2 landfall triggers because she doubles everything. So that's 12. That is pretty scary. Especially when you think that the Displacer can literally just flicker her and protect her from any kind of kill spell. We even have a win con. If we draw a Swamp, we can kill them with the Dread Presence as well. So we'll see what they do. They literally need a kill spell or... Life gain kill spell or... don't know. It's not looking good for them, is it? So that is actually a Swamp. So let's... Wow. Unbelievable. I'm pretty satisfied about that win. Okay, opponent goes first with Sir Farron. So it's going to be a aggro style deck. Our starting hand is very slow. Very slow. 3, 4, 4, 5. I think I need to mull this. This is slightly better because we do have some interaction early on to save us. See what I mean? They've got super fast aggro build, so we needed something for turn 4, really. So we just need to stall as much as we can. Because once we get to the top end, I think we'll be safe. Okay, that makes me feel a lot safer, actually, Treasure Keeper, because if they kill this, we get to replace it with a spell that costs less. It's like Cascade, essentially. Next turn, we probably go for the Gravelighter here, which will trade with probably the Ginger Brute. And then next turn, we've got Treasure Keeper. Yeah, look at this curve. It's fantastic now. So do they want to keep the Gingerbread? Or do they want to keep the Blight Blade? Interesting. Okay. So because they got rid of the Death Touch, I presume they don't use Finn the Fangbearer in there. But this is a strange addition to the deck. Scale up. What the heck? So 1 green makes something a 6-4 to end a turn. That's a bit OP. What the heck? That's a win con. You can overload that. Why the heck don't people use this more often? That's crazy. Okay, Gem Razor, that's going to be annoying. Kills that. Get to Cascade. Haha, we kill it. Okay, that's great. I love it. Okay, we're sorted for life now. Got everything we need. Blockers, cards, removal, planeswalkers. It's pretty tough for green to come back from this. Okay. Let's draw a card. Sure. 6. So we can go for... So it's got Trample, Toxic, deals damage, Proliferate. That's really powerful. I think before we get the big Liliana out, I want to get out some other things first. Okay, let's see what they do. We've got some decent blocks. Obviously, if they give this like Death Touch, that's going to be impossible to protect Lolth. Because Death Touch Trample only ever has to deal 1 damage before the trample goes through. Okay, so this is going to be a... Whenever you combat, equip creature gets plus X or X number of cards in hand. Okay. Trample Toxic. So we have to block with everything here to protect the Lolth. Probably worth it, because we get to get the loyalty back. Let's use the Mind Stone as well. So we got another thing that cares about dying, which is good. I mean, we could straight up just block with a Drivnod next turn if we have to. Ancient Animus, wow, okay. So now that's actually really good for them because it gets rid of the loyalty and it kills Lolth. Okay. Jeez. I mean, they don't have anything left in their hand, do they? So
I will get what I want.
let's invoke Despair. Get rid of everything they have. Well, the only creature they have anyway. And then from now on forward, I think we'll be fine as long as this card isn't like, I don't know, Great Henge or something. Pumpkin. Sure thing. So, yeah, let's just go for Massacre Worm here. Take care of the Lambhawk, because this is going to get very tricky to block. Wild Shape. Cheeky. A lot of cheeky spells they have. Surely they can't last much longer. Like, we've got Liliana, like, what exactly can they do here? Seven, 8. 4 and 4. Yeah, we go for Plunderer plus Rankle, I think, first. Yeah, this Lily is the last thing we want to do. We want to just make sure the ground troops are okay first. So, draw and sack, I think. So we want to reduce their life total. We get the treasures when the creatures, whenever our creature dies as well. They're at 4. Let's scope the hand out. So they're going to have a very good card here to come back here. Or they just die to... Yeah, damn, that was good. We didn't even have to cast Drivnod, but man, if we had, it would have been 8 power every turn. We go first against a Merfolk build. It's not a really good hand, but we've got removal. I think that's very important because if they resolve Civilian, we have to kill it. Otherwise, it's just going to generate them so many cards. So let's just... Okay, we got the third land, so things are looking great here. Signet. Dark Ritual. Well, we could try and get out the Drivnod here. Turn 3 Drivnod's pretty good. Especially getting around the counter spells. They can bounce it, exile it, but... Okay, they are just passing the turn. What does that mean? Merfolk Trickster. Okay. Let's go for the Nightmare Shepherd here. So got a good blocker again. So that basically was a fog for the turn. Stops 8 damage. It's very, very relevant. You know, they only have 25 life, so we need to smack. And so that player just quit. People say the new Elesh Norn is powerful because people auto-concede against it. That argument is valid against many scenarios and many different commanders. The person in this game obviously conceded here because they didn't feel like they had the right things to do. But what I'm saying is, just because you see evidence of something happening with a certain card doesn't mean it's true. It's confirmation bias. That's the issue that people have here. They see something and they believe it to be true because they have no other comparison points. They only see one data point. So people see that Elesh Norn comes down and people quit, but that's not actually all the data points to analyze that scenario. So people like Sheldon Menery, who's saying that Elesh Norn is OP. I mean, any deck can be OP. It's also a lot of the time down to the player. You know, I'm using this deck, and on their turn, what was it, 4, they quit. But what if this deck was in someone else's hands? Would it have been equally as scary? And the same question applies to Elesh Norn. If Elesh Norn is scary in a bad person's hand, as well as a good person's hand, is that the same weighting? This is what I'm asking you. So when you see Elesh Norn, which is something I see a lot of comments mentioning how OP she is, just think about your decks, how you make your deck and what removal is in your deck. If you don't have enough removal, that's the issue. Elesh Norn isn't the issue. She doesn't take the game over by herself. Like Roscoe. Oh my god, people are going to unsubscribe now I've said Roscoe. Yeah, that was another thing as well. This is a bit of a rant, but basically, if you're scared of a singular card, let's take Drivnod here, for example, you're just not running enough removal. And I've quit early as well. I'm not even denying that. But I think in this scenario, where they have, 4 mana, 6 cards, a potentially indestructible thing, who knows? Obviously our hand is really good, but they don't see that, unless they've got a way to cheat. But yeah, basically this whole rant was because people were saying Elesh Norn's powerful and they quit early. But if you watch all my videos, you'll see people quit early a lot of the time. It's nothing to do with Elesh Norn. You can kill her. You can kill these things. Put more removal in, and let's move on. And stop moaning about something that's not powerful. Because if you're moaning about Elesh Norn, you haven't realised that it stops Risco. Elesh Norn stops Risco. It stops Bolus. It stops the Demise. It stops the new Atraxa. So you can't have your cake and eat it. And I think I've already moaned about this in another video, but anyway, that's the rant. Moving on. So no one tell me in the comments how good Elesh Norn is and if she needs to be banned, because she's good, but she doesn't need to be banned. And if you do say anything about her being bannable, then just gonna ignore it. Cool, moving on. Did you know that you can help my channel by watching another one of my videos? Go ahead, you want to.